and by extension the Unitarian Church of Montreal, a restraining order against me for a period of 1 year, which prevented me from being anywhere near the Unitarian Church of Montreal for a 1 year period. So essentially shutting down my protest for 1 full year. So, I took the holiday, as it were. I did, in fact, attempt to appeal that decision, but the decision came down in the middle of the summer, and, I had a difficulty finding any lawyers who weren't on vacation. And so I just wasn't able to round up a lawyer within the 30-day time frame. I suppose I could have got a public defender, possibly, but in the end, I thought, let's just teach them another lesson that they obviously didn't learn the first time, and we'll take the pill. We'll stay away from here. We'll have a nice little vacation from protesting, and then once the restraining order expires, we'll just start up again. We'll just show them, you didn't really solve anything by that restraining order. All you did is delay the inevitable, and you delayed justice. And so, I've been protesting ever since. There were certainly attempts to intimidate me into shutting down the protest. After I resumed it, there was some quite strong intimidation on the part of the police and the church, but I stood up to it, and I even at one point had to take a SPVM Sergeant Detective to the Police Ethics Commission for his intimidation. But that's it. I stood up to the various attempts at intimidation, and here I am. And I've been here, ever since the restraining order ended. I'm not saying I'm here every day. I'm not even here every Sunday. But what I'm saying is my protest has continued on a regular basis ever since, and the church has not been able to extend that restraining order that had a period of 1 year. And I do believe the SPVM, having assessed things, has finally realized that they were repeatedly fed bullshit by leaders of the Unitarian Church of Montreal, and they tend not to interfere in my protest anymore. In fact, the last time I saw SPVM police officer was just a few weeks ago in the middle of May, and had a very pleasant little chat with him. Went very well. He just asked me what I was doing, and I was actually in the middle of writing a chalk protest slogan, right over where this one is. So, I was, writing a chalk slogan right here when the police car pulled up behind me, right, in this area. And, a young male SPVM police officer just, said, what are you doing? And I said, I'm writing a chalk protest slogan. And he did not dispute that in any way, did not dispute my right to do that. We had a nice little chat about, whether or not I knew what the rules were. And I said, I think I have a pretty good idea what the rules are. And that was that. He drove off. Prior to that, there had not been a SPVM intervention since May 1st of 2016, so just over a year ago. There was an intervention on May 1st, May Day, and a couple of SPVM police officers did engage in some, low-level intimidation. They said that the church members were, again, conspiring together to, well, they didn't use the word conspiring, but basically, they said that members of the church were seeking to bring criminal charges against me, and I said, well, fine, bring it, let's go. We'll just have another round of that if you want. So I essentially just, again, told the cops that, I'm not really going to be intimidated by threats of criminal charges. You have me charged, and we'll see what happens. We'll take it from there. And so far, I've not been arrested and charged with any criminal act so far. Well, I'm talking about recent history. I was, in fact, arrested and charged with violating Section 176.3 of the Canadian Criminal Code in December of 2000, to my surprise actually, because just a few weeks before that I'd had a chat with a SPVM police officer who had surveilled me from a police supervisor's van for a good 10 to 20 minutes, watching my protest. And since he was watching my protest, I finally walked over to him and I asked, is everything okay? Because I did believe that everything I was doing was well within the law. And he came back with, oh, everything looks fine to me, kind of thing. Like he didn't dispute anything that I was doing. He said it looks fine to me. Just a few weeks later, 2 or 3 weeks later, and on the 4th of December of 2000, a police car pulls up. A police officer gets out by the name of Anthony Pompa, and he basically says, I'm here to arrest you. In other words, there was no ifs, and, or buts. He had been ordered to arrest me, so it wasn't something we could discuss. So he arrested me for allegedly violating Section 176.3 of the Canadian Criminal Code. And when I looked it up, it was a section of the Criminal Code which prohibits disrupting the order and solemnity of religious services. So it's a law that says you can't disrupt the church service, essentially, and it also includes some other things. It says other meetings for a moral purpose. So I guess we can dispute what exactly is a meeting for a moral purpose, but you can't disrupt those either. But nonetheless, it specifically does prohibit disrupting the order and solemnity of church services. And I'm going, well, here I am, like I'm outside the church, I'm not making a lot of noise, I can't easily be seen from inside the church, so this is complete bullshit as far as I'm concerned. They're misusing this section of the Criminal Code, which prohibits disrupting church services, in an effort to shut down my protest outside the church, which is, in my view, was a misuse of that law. So I contested it. I defended myself. I pleaded not guilty. I represented myself because it was such bullshit that I felt that the chances of being found guilty were almost zero in any case. So I said, well, I don't need a lawyer if the chances of being found guilty are almost zero. I'll defend myself. On the off chance that I am found guilty, well, at that point I'll get a lawyer for the appeal. But I didn't need to get a lawyer for the appeal because I very successfully defended myself in court against the bullshit misuse of this law by, if not the Unitarian Church as an institution, well, certainly some leading members of the Unitarian Church of Montreal, specifically Jeremy Searle, Montreal City Councillor, who I do believe misused his influence as a city councillor to get me arrested in the first place. He did write letters to Station 12 in Westmount, which was a station that handled the arrest and in which the Unitarian Church of Montreal was in their jurisdiction at the time. So Jeremy Searle was very involved in this misuse of Section 176.3 of the Criminal Code in a prosecution that sought to force an end to my protest outside the church. And theoretically, if I'd been found guilty and had not been successful in an appeal, I got a nice little thumbs up there from the cyclist, I could theoretically have spent 2 years in jail, because that the penalty for violating Section 176.3 of the Canadian Criminal Code is a 2-year jail term maximum. So, it just goes to show how Unitarians, Montreal Unitarians, and also the Unitarian Universalist Association, have no qualms about misusing section of the Canadian Criminal Code in efforts to silence my criticism of Unitarian Universalist clergy abuse and so on. But I quite enjoyed my time in court questioning Jeremy Searle and questioning Val Bourdon, and basically totally demolishing their attempted misuse of the law, totally demolishing their ridiculous testimony. So yeah, it was actually a very enjoyable experience in the end. I had a good judge. Trying to remember his name. Off the top of my head, I can't remember his name. But this was this guy was an experienced judge. He respected my rights, and because I had a good judge and because it was complete bullshit, I was acquitted, to make a long story short. So one of the more positive experiences with the Canadian criminal justice system, thanks to Unitarian Universalists misusing the Canadian Criminal Code and legal bullying intended to conceal their clergy abuse problem and various other injustices, abuses, and hypocrisy. Let's see where we are. Yeah, I just got a couple of minutes of video left. So I think we're going to wrap it up here. We got a full hour plus worth of protesting under our belt. It's a hot day, not too bad. I actually do have quite a nice little breeze here, keeping me reasonably cool. But yeah, I think I've put in a good little protest here. People have gone into the church. I don't see the point in continuing it much longer. So I think we're just going to wrap it up here. So once this section of video comes to an end, I will wrap up this protest, which I do believe has been quite successful. Just do a last little look at the picket signs and slogans. So this is wrapping it up for Sunday, June 18th of 2017.